I will now call the Blue Springs City Council meeting to order. I use my fist here tonight. The May 20th City Council meeting. If you would stand with me, observe a moment of silence, and then I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we do that, let me also introduce Boy Scout Troop 1306 from the Church of the Resurrection that's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the moment of silence. And they have already gotten their instructions on what to do.
Can everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Scout attention, Scout salute, Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scout. Come back and see us again. I want to welcome you in attendance as well as those that might watch YouTube later to tonight's City Council meeting. Next, we have a resolution designating the Blue Springs Municipal Court.
Consent agenda.
Thank you. Oh, consent.
You're jumping in.
Didn't have my gavel, so now I got it, so I can get things back in order here. Consent agenda, unless there are items need to be pulled, accept a motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Kaler,
Aye.
Levasseur,
Aye.
Fowler,
Aye.
Erickson, Edmondson,
Aye.
Culpepper,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now we have adoption of resolution designating the Blue Springs Municipal Courtroom as the Honorable Judge John Jack Municipal Court. I accept a motion for the adoption of the resolution.
So moved, Your Honor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion going to Council Member Culpepper first.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a very big deal for me. I'm so pleased to be able to do this. John Jack has been with our community for a long, long time, and almost 40 years. So I thought that this was a very appropriate motion for him and for our community to honor him with this. I'm going to just kind of read off a few of the things that I have concerning his honor. I just thought it was important to let everybody know why this is really happening and all the contributions that he has made. And I know I'm not going to touch on them all, but I'll touch on a few. He handled approximately 240,000 cases in Blue Springs. He grew the court from an initial 2 court dates a month to current 6 dockets per month, from basement of City Hall to community center, pool hall, to the old police building, to the lumber yard, to the new service court police station building that we're in today. He was instrumental in working with architects to design this new building. He attended numerous seminars, including all Missouri Municipal Judges Annual Seminars for all 40 years. Member of the Missouri Municipal Judges Association for over 40 years. Attended numerous additional seminars to continually update court procedures to allow for state-of-the-art changes to court operations. Helped set up special Blue Springs domestic violence docket to expedite those cases. And recently set on 2 year-long judicial committees to rewrite judicial procedures, manuals mandated by Supreme Court of Missouri for the use by municipal courts of the entire state. organized and developed the first youth court in Blue Springs, and instructed and trained and advised that court. Due to its success, aided other communities in setting up their youth courts. He taught law courses at Longview Community College, member and officer of various community organizations, including Blue Springs JC, outstanding young civic leader for Missouri JCs, Blue Springs Optimist, Blue Springs Kiwanis, UMKC Extension Board. Involved in community education programming, also Fall Fun Fest co-chair. This man has been very, very busy. Added the first Fall Fun Run and significantly expanded the Fall Fun Fest activities. I just cannot tell you how proud I am to have his honor as my friend, and so I am very proud to be able to do this in his honor.
Any other comments? Councilman Kaler?
I was one of the bailiffs under Judge Jack back in the old days, and we were talking about the pool hall prior to City Council and I, and had chuckles. And it was my honor and privilege to serve under him as his bailiff, and this is well deserved.
Anyone else?
Your Honor,
Councilman Erickson?
this is
Council
John's
member.
night. This is Vicky's night, and thank you, John, for being my best friend, and it's well deserved. Thanks.
One of the things that was not mentioned, John, is you are nationally known and recognized for your ruling on the pot-bellied pig. You put Blue Springs on the map. Okay, once
And
we...
Your Honor,
once
the other
we-
thing I want to add, and this is one of my favorite things about him, I have yet to be to any kind of celebration where he wasn't dressed to the hilt for that specific occasion.
True that. True that. Once we approve this, we're going to come down and take some photographs so we can put it in a newsletter and all those publications. So those that want to join us, you can come down and we'll do that. Also joining us tonight, and we'll want them to come take a picture too, are two of our judges that are here. Well, we only have two, and both of them are here. We got Judge Donna Grasso, who replaced John as the presiding judge, and we have Judge Stephanie Taramino. So once we approve this, we're going to come down front and we'll get a good photograph of the judges and the council members that would like to join us down front. So unless there's other discussion, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Judge John Jackson.
Guess we're all going. Go get your picture taken. Yeah. My hair look all right?
I'm gonna go first and then I'll let them do theirs. Okay. Everybody look at my camera. I take a couple. Great, thank you.
Okay, the rest of you want to get away and get that? That way. There we go. All right, again, thank you. Congratulations.
So I gotta keep the water bottle going tonight.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, next we have a public hearing on the vacation of water line easements on the proposed novel place at White Oak Market Place property.
Mayor, the city has the following exhibits to enter into the record. Exhibit 1, council information form with attachments, staff report. Oh. Site location maps, vacation map, affidavit of publication, the Examiner on March 23rd, 2019, application with attachments, 185-foot notification map, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of site, copy of letter sent to said property owners, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and Bill number 4663 approving the vacation. This is all we have to offer for the record.
Okay, Matt, on behalf of the city.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Before this evening is a request to vacate existing waterline easements on the novel place at White Oak Marketplace property, which is located 230 feet south of Sunset Avenue and west of the Price Chopper at White Oak Marketplace. The waterline easements were dedicated to the city in 1966 and 1977. Water lines have been removed and are no longer needed to serve the property. New easements needed to serve the new development have been shown and dedicated on the final plat. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on May 13th, and no one spoke in favor or in opposition to the request. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the vacation, and staff also recommends approval of the vacation with 2 conditions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you. Does the applicant wish to speak?
Good evening.
You be sworn in?
You sound sworn to the testimony about giving this case to the truth, so
Yes. Rich Wood from the Polson Allen Law Firm, 900 West 48th Place, Kansas City, Missouri. We have reviewed staff's report that was provided in your packet, along with the recommendations they make in that report. We're in concurrence with the staff report.
Any questions of Rick? Seeing none, thank you. We'll go to the public. Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Support of. Opposition to. Opposition to. Close this public hearing. Who would like to introduce it?
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill number 4663, an ordinance vacating waterline easements on the proposed novel place at White Oak Marketplace property, Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Same sign?
Second reading of Bill number 4663, an ordinance vacating waterline easements on the proposed novel place at White Oak Marketplace property, Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Fowler,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Edmondson,
Aye.
Culpepper,
Aye.
Kaler,
Aye.
Levisay,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4821.
Next, we have introduction and reading of Bill 4664, approving the final plat for novel place at White Oak Marketplace.
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill number 4664, an ordinance approving the final plat for novel place at White Oak Marketplace.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Second reading of Bill number 4664, an ordinance approving the final plat for novel place at White Oak Marketplace.
Move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Erickson,
Aye.
Edmondson,
Aye.
Culpepper,
Aye.
Kaler,
Aye.
Levisay,
Aye.
Fowler,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4822.
Okay, next we have a public hearing on a tax abatement of real property for the new construction of structures by dwellings by Design KC LLC.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We will be
No,
providing...
not yet.
Oh, sorry.
The city has the following exhibits to offer into the record. Council information form with attachments, notice of public hearing, taxing jurisdictions, distribution lists, and tax impacts analysis, certified mail receipts, and Bill number 4665 approving the Jones Place project pursuant to the Main Center Redevelopment Corporation amended and restated development plan pursuant to Chapter 353 of the revised statutes of Missouri, and an abatement agreement attached as Exhibit 1. This is all we have to offer for the record.
Thank you. Next we'll go to Teresa Evans on
All
behalf of the
right.
city.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We will be providing an introduction to the Jones Place Tax Abatement Project for public hearing on behalf of the applicant, Dwellings by Design KC. Following the public hearing, the bill approving the project and tax abatement agreement will be before you for your consideration. The Main Center Redevelopment Corporation Development Plan was approved in August of 2001, and redevelopment projects have been approved in accordance to the plan in the years following. These projects have yielded significant improvements and additions to the downtown area. The background on the tax abatement project is provided for you. Dwellings by Design KC submitted an initial tax abatement application in October of 2018, proposing the new construction of 5 two-story buildings with 10 single-family residential units located at 106 and 108 Southwest 8th Street. The project also includes correlated public improvements for sewer, water, and alley. The bill will approve the proposed project and an abatement agreement between the Main Center Redevelopment Corporation and Dwellings by Design KC, allowing the MCRC to initiate tax abatement and for the company to receive tax abatement upon completion of the new structures. The city is not party to the tax abatement agreement, but the City Council is being requested to approve the agreement as it controls the terms and conditions under which the City Council is approving the abatement project. The details on the tax abatement would be for each individual lot to be initiated upon completion and will be limited in the following manner. The maximum duration of the agreement will be 10 years with 100% tax abatement on the property improvements for the first 5 years and 50% tax abatement on the improved property for the second 5 years, with the exception of the Central Jackson County Fire District capturing 75% of the taxes it would ordinarily receive for years 1 through 10. This is a provision allowed by Senate Bill 870, which became law in August 2018. The tax abatement for the property will be terminated prior to the 10-year duration if the value of the abatement exceeds the cost of improvements as certified by staff on behalf of MCRC prior to the 10th year of abatement. With the projected costs of each, early termination is not very likely. The total project cost comes to about $1.5 million. The value of the abatement over 10 years is $151,202. The resulting effect actually keeps most of the taxing jurisdictions, or keeps the taxing jurisdictions at the same level of tax they were receiving today. There just wouldn't be a considerable increase until year 11. This is a factor of subdividing the lots from the existing 2 former parking lot parcels and retaining the tax due on the land. The project was approved by the MCRC board at their April 11th meeting, and that was a unanimous decision. Jones Place is the next phase in the overall plan of Dwellings by Design KC for infill housing in the downtown area. The most recent addition, initiated in 2017, Hannah's Place Phase 2, consisting of 8 new homes at Walnut and 9th, is in the final stages of completion with 7 of the homes already sold. Jones Place provides an additional housing option in downtown, adding to the desired increase of rooftops and bringing more people downtown. At this time, I am willing to take any questions. We also have legal bond counsel Sid Douglas here and applicant Mike Yancic available for questions as well.
Okay, any questions of the council to Teresa? Seeing none. Okay, so who would like to come and speak on behalf of the project? I mean, not the audience yet. I haven't gone to the public. I'm talking about the people that's involved. Okay, yes. He's the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, be sworn in and tell us what you want to tell us.
Do you need my name and address?
You saw me sort of testimony about the abatement phase and do something.
Yes, sir.
Introduce
Mike Yancic, Dwellings by Design, KC.
You get a microphone.
Mike Yancic, Dwellings by Design, KC, 1909 Northwest 75th Street, Kansas City, Mo. 64151.
Okay.
I don't have a long-winded presentation or anything, but I just wanted to thank you guys for the consideration on this tax abatement. It's just helping us bring some affordable housing downtown that we need. All this new construction is so expensive these days. There's, you know, a starter house is $300,000 these days. People just can't afford it. So that's all I really wanted to say. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. No one else, then we'll go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Support of. Opposition to. Opposition to. Close this public hearing. Who would like to introduce it?
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill Number 4665, an ordinance approving the Jones Place project under the amended and restated Main Center redevelopment plan and approving an abatement agreement for the project.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Same sign?
Second reading of Bill Number 4665, an ordinance approving the Jones Place project under the amended and restated Main Center redevelopment plan and approving an abatement agreement for the project.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Edmondson,
Aye.
Culpepper,
Aye.
Kaler,
Aye.
Levesey,
Aye.
Fowler,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4823.
Next, we have a public hearing on the creation of the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District.
Mayor, the city has the following exhibits to enter into the record. Council information form with attachments, memorandum of North Blue Springs Community Improvement District, Bill number 4666 with a petition to establish the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District and approve cooperative agreement with attachments. This is all we have to offer for the record.
Okay, Mike?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a request or a public hearing held to receive public comment on the creation of the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District and to request approval of a petition to establish that Community Improvement District, as well as approval of a cooperative agreement among the city, North Blue Springs Community Improvement District, and Enterprises Costco LLC. In April of 2019, the City Clerk received the petition for the establishment of the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District. The City Clerk, in cooperation with the city's legal counsel, reviewed the petition and determined that it was legally sufficient to be considered by City Council this evening. The applicant has also asked the city to make a blight finding on the property in accordance with the CID Act, and that blight study can be found attached to the petition. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Rich Wood with Pulcinelli, representing the developer, to
Can you
make a
speak up?
presentation. Oh, sorry. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Rich Wood with Pulcinelli, representing the developer, to make the presentation.
Okay.
It's either left or right, or there's a mouse.
Perfect. I want to make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Do I need to be sworn in?
Well, you've already been sworn in, haven't you?
Yep, I've been sworn in once.
Yeah, so.
Okay, it's Rich Wood from the Pulcinelli Law Firm, 900 West 48th Place, Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you for the time this evening. We're here to talk about the property at 1305 Highway 7, which is just north of Interstate 70. It's approximately 7.1 acres with an assessed value of $963,206. It's owned by Enterprises Costco LLC, which is a Cosentino's related entity. It's currently an existing Price Chopper store of about 60,500 square feet. The proposal tonight is to form the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District. As I noted, this is a single property owner which has signed the petition. Only one property contained within the district. The district is proposed to have a duration of 23 years. We're proposing to impose a 1% sales tax within the boundaries of the district. No other funding sources will be utilized, therefore we won't have a real property tax, special assessments, or anything like that. And then one thing to note is we are not asking to divert revenues from any other taxing districts, as you would see with TIF, or abate taxes of other taxing districts, as you would see with like a Chapter 100 or a Chapter 353. We're simply asking to impose a 1% sales tax on our property in order to fund improvements. District governance. The district would be governed by a 5-member board of directors. One of those board members is proposed to be an employee or elected official of the city. The mayor, with the advice and consent of the council, will appoint all board members, so you will continue to maintain control over the district in that manner, even though it is a separate political subdivision. The district is required by state statute to submit an annual budget to the city each year. Also on your agenda tonight is approval of a proposed cooperative agreement between the city, the developer, and the Community Improvement District. This agreement would provide that the Department of Revenue would collect the sales tax revenues and remit them to the city. And then the developer will, as they incur project costs on the site, they will certify those costs to the city. City will hold the funds and then only reimburse the developer once they prove up that they've spent money on the project. So this provides some city control over the project, and it's a way for you to make sure that the project gets done as outlined in the petition. The developer is going to construct the project at its cost and be reimbursed with SID revenue. So we're not asking the city to fund any costs. Developer is going to fund all costs up front and then wait for SID revenues to be generated on the site in order to be reimbursed. We are requesting a blight finding. There was a blight study included with the petition, and it was in your packet and introduced into the record. The reason for the blight finding is CIDs in Missouri normally have the power to make public improvements. If it is a blighted property, however, the CIDs have the additional power to demolish and remove, renovate, reconstruct, or rehabilitate any buildings or structures on the property. This is important to this site because this is predominantly what we're trying to achieve here, is to improve the existing structures on the property. As noted in the blight study, Valbridge performed the blight study for us. They noted unsanitary or unsafe conditions, deterioration of site improvements, and conditions which endanger life or property by fire and other causes. Those three blighting factors produce an economic liability and social liability. This is a rendering of the facade and roof improvements. So as you can see, it's going to be commensurate with other new stores that you've seen in the metro area. Hopefully provide a positive improvement to your community. The project's going to be a completely renovated store. It's going to be comparable to a new store. The project budget is approximately $5.3 million. The project is going to start immediately after approval of the Community Improvement District. The store is going to remain open during the remodel, and we plan to have the project completed this year. Just to run down the improvements that are proposed to be made, we're going to spend approximately $1.7 million on interior remodeling. This is going to include updated lighting, flooring, signage, and wall coverings. There's going to be approximately $300,000 spent on the facade remodel, roofing improvements. $1.7 million refrigeration updates. The refrigeration system in the store has not been replaced or upgraded since the store opened, so this is a big part of the budget, is to come in and just completely redo all the refrigeration systems in the store. And then an additional $750,000 is going to be spent on permanent fixtures to property. This is going to be store shelving and things like that. So the requested actions tonight are approve the CIVD petition, form the district, make the finding of blight, and then also approve the cooperative agreement between Costco Enterprises LLC, the city, and the district. And then following formation of the district, we have the separate step to hold an election and approve the sales tax. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Are there any questions, Rich? Councilman Fowler.
Yes.
Councilman.
Also, this may be more of a question for staff in just a minute, but if we could get to page 342, Exhibit D, in the council packet. So the question I got is, you're asking us to set up a 1% sales tax for the shoppers that go to this store and only this store. So if that would occur, they can go, some customers go a few hundred yards down the street and not pay that sales tax and buy equivalent products. So do you think that will put Price Chopper at a competitive disadvantage in some way, or?
No, it's something that the Cosentino family considered when they decided to go that route, and they don't think that it will discourage people from shopping in their store.
Okay. In the cooperative agreement, that's where I was wanting staff to, if we could bring up page 342 or 348. One of the things that the applicant mentioned was all of this related to the project, and I understand everything that you want to get done, and it sounds like a great project to improve all the facilities there. This is in that cooperative agreement. Is that Exhibit D?
Let's see what I can find here. Sorry, zoomed in a little.
Let's go to 340, page 348 then, maybe.
It's a big document.
Yeah. Okay, you're into D. Right. Yep. Scroll down, up just a little. Well, no, you're good. Right there. See number 8 and number 9. Snow and ice removal trash, garbage, and other refuse removal. So there are things in there that don't relate to a project. And I understand this is sometimes standard language in our agreements. It's not that I've ever been for it, but that just seems like an odd thing to say, hey, we want to raise taxes on our customers to pay for snow removal and trash removal, things like that. So is that something, where does the CID board see themselves on that?
Well, let me start by saying the way this is structured is the CID revenues have to be used first to repay the cost of the improvements, and that's the budget that I ran down. What the petition and cooperative agreement provide is that once all those costs with interest are repaid, then we have the option of using the CID revenue for the defined term of services. And I think that's what you're looking at here is the services that the community improvement district could provide. So I just wanted to make the point that the project gets paid for first before any services can be provided with CID revenues.
Okay, so this is more than a project. It's for services as well. We wouldn't just cut the services out. Is that what the applicant is requesting?
We're proposing to include the services, yes, just as a backstop.
What does that mean, a backstop?
Well, backstop after payment of the project cost, we would like to be
So
able
if the
to
project costs are 10% less than the budget, then you want to go ahead and do services to consume the rest of the money?
Correct.
Okay.
You know,
Yep, that's it.
anybody else? Okay, thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Is that all from the staff perspective? We ready to go to the public? Do you have something else to add? Eric?
Your Honor and Counsel, Tripp Ross, the developer of this project, is not with us tonight, and so Rich has done a pretty good job of pinch hitting on behalf of not only the legal components of the CID petition, but representing the developer. If in the event there are additional questions or issues that would arise that would cause the council concern for this project, or you need additional information before you could move on to items number 11, then the applicant would request that this item be moved to the next meeting in June. But I understand you're going to be gone on vacation. But Tripp regrets that he cannot be here. He has had, there has been a presentation in a meeting between the developer and the attorney and the District 1 representatives and staff to discuss this project. And so I just wanted to get that on record. If there are any concerns or issues about going forward with this tonight, we would ask that you not close the public hearing and that we continue it to the next city council meeting. But that's contingent upon the discussion going forward.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Support of. Opposition to. Opposition to. I'm not closing the public hearing yet. So, any discussion from the council?
Yeah, Your Honor. I guess that's that, and I think staff may know this is not the first time I've talked about CIDs relative to services. That just seems like an open-ended way to keep the tax open and keep collecting. And I track and I follow, hey, let's eliminate blight, okay? But honestly, ongoing services of trash and you know, things you do to maintain the business, probably mowing as well, that just doesn't seem to fit within the, underneath the term of a project here. So I don't know how to define the project. I assume it's, you know, what if the project came in at half? Then the rest of this is services? The improvement needs to be in proportion to the amount of tax dollars they're requesting, I think.
Rich, do you have any answer to that? Because you're still sworn into the public hearing.
I mean, the primary intention of this district is to fund the improvements. Quite frankly, the services, we include those in a lot of our CID petitions just because as you get further down the road, those are the type things that you want to provide within the district. But quite frankly, if you were to say, you know, Rich, you need to cut the services out in order to get our approval, we'll cut them out. You know, it's just, as I used the term before, it's a backstop. It's something that as we pay for the project, and the revenues get freed up, we just want to leave that open to be able to do in the future.
Okay. And this is pretty much standard in all your CID?
We typically request it. Sometimes cities will push back and not want to authorize services, but in a lot of cases, services are included in the petition.
Okay, Sid, you want to come in and be sworn in to add to?
If you don't mind, Your Honor.
Yes.
Someone swear the testimony about to give this case to do something. Yes, sir. Sid Douglas, 2405 Grand Boulevard, Kansas City, Missouri, law firm of Gilmore and Bell, bond counsel, special development counsel to the city. I know that the reference to the services are included in the petition as well as the cooperative agreement. From a practical standpoint, as we were reviewing all the numbers and everything with the developer, in order to get them the reimbursement for the cost of the project, which is just about $5.3 million. They're projecting sales tax collections of starting out about $250,000 a year from the store. And assuming that over about a 23-year period, and you include a little bit of interest on the money being borrowed, there's really not going to be any money left over to fund services. If there is, it'll be a very nominal amount.
Councilman Levis.
Just a question for Administrator Johnson. Is this the type of thing that we would need to delay approval of this project if we decided to move forward with amending it to remove the services? Or is this something that would be acceptable based on your conversation with Tripp? Or do you have a...
I'm going to have to defer to these two gentlemen. Defer to these guys.
Well, first, I think we could accomplish it by a simple amendment to the ordinance to limit it. I don't think it would require a delay.
Right, I'm just saying,
yeah.
to fall in line with Tripp's wishes.
If it truly is an issue, I will represent to you that the developer is okay with removing the services.
Councilman Fowler, the council member Fowler, this whole Exhibit D is labeled services. Is just 8 and 9 what you're concerned about, or is it all?
Well, just services general. I think once the project that was presented and defined is completed and you get full reimbursement, interest, et cetera, for that, then that's the time to close out the tax.
So do you think?
Because it's just, that's well defined. This stuff can, it's kind of the unique things that, it's just tough to explain to constituents.
Yep.
So
frankly, if we would have known it was going to be an issue, we would have removed it from the
Your
petition.
Honor, I agree with Councilman Fowler, council member,
member.
whatever we are. I concur with his thoughts, and my suggestion would be just striking those two items, the snow removal and the trash garbage, since those are normal reoccurring expenses of a business and not for improvement, and then proceed with this item.
Is that acceptable, Councilmember Fowler?
Yes. I guess I would say that this is, I'd ask that staff in the future survey the council and find out where the council's at on this, because I know I've talked about services before and I keep seeing them throw up in CIDs and I just don't know, I don't know where the full council's at on that.
So noted.
Yep.
If that was a motion from Councilmember Culpepper, I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
But we're still in the public hearing.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, that will be done in the ordinance. Okay. We went to the public. No one responded. We've had discussion, and you all are done. We're going to close this public hearing. Hearing is closed. So, hopefully everybody's been following, so as we introduce the actual ordinance, then that's when we will make the decision to strike those items. Okay, so we'd like to introduce it.
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4666, an ordinance approving the petition for and establishing the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District and approving a cooperative agreement among the City of Blue Springs, Missouri, the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District, and Enterprises Costco, LLC.
Your Honor, make the motion that we approve.
Is there a second?
Well, I think I'm going to put it in the motion, or try it anyway.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading with the striking of items 8 and 9 in Exhibit D.
Okay.
And proceed with the second, if that's...
Second.
Is that okay, legal counsel?
You don't want to strike the entire Exhibit D?
No, they just say
I think we
8 and
agreed to
9.
do
It's 8 and 9.
those two, 8 and 9.
Is that the only reference in the cooperative agreement? Would it need to be amended in elsewhere in the agreement?
There's references in the original petition, although there's nothing we can do about the petition as submitted. But in the cooperative agreement, the only reference is in the Exhibit D.
Okay.
There's some references to services that make reference to the Exhibit D, but 8, 9, where it talks about snow removal and trash, that's the only place that it would appear.
Okay. Then that motion is good.
Okay, so now do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay, so the amendment would be to strike through items 8 and 9 under Exhibit D under the cooperative agreement. This is the second reading of Bill number 4666 as amended, an ordinance approving the petition for and establishing the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District and improving a cooperative agreement among the City of Blue Springs, Missouri, the North Blue Springs Community Improvement District, and Enterprises Costco LLC.
Your Honor, move the bill as amended be approved on a second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance numbers.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Council members Culpepper,
Aye.
Kaler,
Aye.
Levisay,
Aye.
Fowler,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Edmondson,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4824.
We are giving the public hearings a workout tonight. Next, we have another public hearing on the fiscal year 2019, 2020, 2023, 2024 capital improvement program for the City of Blue Springs.
Mayor, the city has the following exhibits to enter into the record. Council information form with attachments, PowerPoint presentation, public notice as published in the Examiner on Saturday, May 4th, 2019, funded project sheets for fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and bill number 4667 with draft of proposed 2019-2020 to 2023-24 capital improvements program attached as Exhibit A. This is all we have to offer for the record.
Okay, Mike?
Good evening again, Mayor, members of City Council. This is a public hearing being held for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 through 2023 to 2024 capital improvement program in accordance with the requirements of the city charter, which specifies that the city administrator shall prepare and submit a CIP of not less than 5 years to the mayor and city council annually. As with previous capital improvement programs, the 2019-2020 to 2023-2024 CIP projects are identified under 3 main categories, which I'll jump to here in a minute. A little bit of background that got us here this evening. The CIP Review Committee, which consists of members of City Council, members of the Planning Commission, as well as a member of the Parks Commission, met to review the proposed capital improvement program on April 24th. The CIP, draft CIP budget was also provided to the Planning Commission a week ago for their review. Both of those groups did not have any further questions on the CIP program. The fiscal year 2019-2020 CIP project is consistent with past CIP budgets and directives provided by City Council. As I mentioned, the CIP is basically broken down by 3 categories: equipment replacement, maintenance, and capital improvements. These projects in the CIP budget are noted as either funded or unfunded capital needs. Much of the CIP this year, as with years past, is heavily focused on maintenance of existing infrastructure, as well as the replacement of mission-critical equipment. The total budget for all projects included in the 5-year plan period is approximately $148 million. The cost per category under maintenance, equipment replacement, and capital improvements is broken down here before you, as well as the ability of those projects to be either funded or as unfunded capital needs. As you will note, the ability to fund projects over that 5-year period is approximately $46 million. Which represents only about 31% of the overall capital improvement needs. To put it bluntly, there's just simply not enough money to go around to all of the projects we have in the city. So the unfunded capital needs continue to be the bulk of the CIP budget. For projects funded by year, the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 year, which is the next budget cycle, maintenance projects are at almost $14.4 million. Equipment replacement is $700,000 approximately, and capital improvements is approximately $1.7 million for a total of $16.8 million approximately. The core of the 5-year program does relate to preventative measures and investments in order to keep the city's existing infrastructure and assets in good functional repair. As I mentioned, the $14 million is roughly 86% of next year's fiscal year CIP program. The 5-year new budget projections include new parks and rec projects for Adams Point Conference Center, new public safety systems upgrade at the police department, as well as public works with some mission critical equipment and a sewer flushing truck, some capital improvement project for the South Outer Road water replacement, and ADP street lighting. The governing body framework or the capital improvement budget does follow the strategic goals outlined by council and is broken down by those categories. Unfortunately, those numbers did not make it into the slide presentation, but I have those here for you. Predominantly infrastructure related, Parks and Rec are the two bulk council priorities, as well as some internal operations. And those are the bulk of the funded projects. The unfunded capital needs are predominantly, again, in infrastructure with some in public safety and Parks and Rec. And as you can see, or as I just mentioned, Parks and Rec and infrastructure take up the bulk of the capital improvement plan. This is the proposed fiscal year 2019-2020 budget overview. Again, there's $16.8 million approximately in total, and those are broken out by department with, again, parks and public works, including streets and sanitary sewer, and utilities through the SNIBAR and water utility being the bulk of the CIP program. These are the proposed funded projects for 2019-2020, broken down by department, including community development, some IT or information technology, public safety, parks, public works, streets, stormwater, sanitary sewer, and SNIBAR. And the water utility for a grand total of $16.8 million. 5-year trends and considerations. Again, there's the importance of the parks and maintenance sales tax, which was adopted a few years ago to help fund the deferred maintenance of the parks throughout the city. There are continued gaps in other areas between the ability to fund projects with the unfunded needs, and we'll continue to have those gaps in street maintenance, stormwater, as well as just the ability to have major reconstruction and capacity building. As always with the capital improvement program, there's the challenge of identifying long-term solutions to address those gaps and the deferred maintenance that occurs over time. Tonight's public hearing was noticed in the Examiner on Saturday, May 4th. After tonight's public hearing, the council may adopt the draft capital improvement program. And that is all the presentation that I have for you. I'm happy to answer any questions on
Mike?
any of the budget that we provided.
Councilman Fowler. Councilmember Fowler.
Yep. I appreciate all the work that staff and all the committees do to bring this document. It's huge documents, very tough to plan 5 years ahead. And I think you had it mentioned in their gap. I'm just going to highlight it just a little bit. Our citizen survey continues to focus on roads and road improvements, and that $2.5 million has probably been at that level for the last 10 years. I noticed it bumps up to $2.8 million in the next couple of years, but I still don't know if that's going to reach the gap where we're talking about. So just encourage staff to continue to work on that.
I'll have a response for that. Councilman Fowler, thank you. I've heard that comment before. And the one thing that we'll be doing is if you choose to adopt this budget tonight, That doesn't mean that I cannot recommend an alternate between now and when I present my budget on August the 1st. And if this situation presents itself where I could find money from unassigned fund balance where I could add a one-time allotment to the street overlay, I will certainly consider and think about doing that in my recommendation.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Culpepper.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. When I serve on this, each year that I serve on this committee, I'm always, I start to say amazed, I don't know if that's the right term or not, when I look at what's funded and what is unfunded. And it's unfortunate. We have, most of our money seems to be going into maintenance and Band-Aids on things where we don't have a lot of funds to spend on capital improvement. So I'm going to take this opportunity just to say that as we go forward sometime in the future and we look at the use tax that keeps coming up for discussion, I think that when we talk about the streets that we can't cover, the stormwaters that we can't cover, we need to once again remember what our budget looks like and how that could make a little bit of dent in this huge amount of unfunded projects.
True that, council member, because every time I see a UPS or FedEx truck coming down my street, I say that's money we're not getting. And it's going to continue to grow. And that affects the revenue that we have to be able to do roads and streets and other necessary city functions. So thank you for that. Okay, unless there are any other questions, I go to the public. Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Support of. Opposition to. Opposition to. Close the public hearing, and who would like to introduce?
I will introduce, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4667, an ordinance adopting the City of Blue Springs Capital Improvements Program for fiscal years 2019 through 2020 through 2023-2024.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number 4667, an ordinance adopting the City of Blue Springs Capital Improvements Program for fiscal years 2019-2020 through 2023-24.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Kaler,
Aye.
Levisay,
Aye.
Fowler,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Edmondson,
Aye.
Culpepper,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4825.
That brings us to the last public hearing of the evening, and it's an amendment to the Unified Development Code related to medical marijuana.
Mayor, the city has the following exhibits to enter into the record. A council information form with attachments, Planning Commission packet, May 13th, 2019, and Bill Number 4668 approving the amendments. This is all we have to offer for the record.
You want to go to Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a public hearing being held to request amendments to the Unified Development Code, which is also known as Title IV, Chapters 401 to 411 of the Municipal Code of the City, for adopting regulations related to medical marijuana to provide for the zoning, land use, and development standards for medical marijuana facilities in the city. Tonight's public hearing is the culmination of a number of meetings that the city has had, city staff has had with city council as well as other boards and commissions, and we'll relay the recommendations of those at the end of this presentation. Sorry. These amendments proposed this evening are the first of what are likely to be many steps in the city's adoption of rules and regulations to implement medical marijuana in the city, as approved under Amendment 2 by the voters last year, and that is now enacted as Article 14 of the Missouri Constitution. These amendments tonight are for the land use or planning and zoning regulations only. Additional amendments may be necessary to adopt further regulations regarding to such things as public safety, building code, property maintenance code, business licensing. But we believe this is an important first step to bring forward these planning and zoning considerations so that likely and prospective medical marijuana facility businesses have the rules in place so that they can submit their applications to the state prior to August 3rd or 4th of this year. In addition, these amendments were based upon draft rules that were issued by the state, as well as model ordinances provided by the Missouri Municipal League, MoCAD and Trade Industry, as well as staff's own research of other cities throughout the metro area. The final draft rule, or the draft rules become final rules from the state on June 4th. If there are any additional rules that conflict with what we've adopted or what gets adopted by council before that, we would likely need to bring back an amendment as well. So this is just probably the first of many to come before you. So as this has already been discussed with City Council at the work session on April 29th, it has also been before the Development Advisory Commission and the Planning Commission for their review. The Development Advisory Commission met on May 2nd, Planning Commission met May 13th, and they recommended approval of the code amendment language as it was written and as it's being proposed to you this evening. Specifically, the UDC amendment do a number of things. The first of which is to add medical marijuana uses to the code and provide definitions for those uses. Those facilities include medical marijuana dispensaries, testing, cultivation, and infused product manufacturing facilities. Those definitions very closely mirror what the state has provided for us so that we do not have conflicting definitions with the state draft rules. In addition, the UDC amendments specify which zoning districts those above facilities are allowed in, and that as proposed, they would be allowed by right. So if they meet all the provisions of the code and they're located within the appropriate zoning district, then they would be permitted. For the medical marijuana dispensary, those would be permitted by right in the general business and regional commercial zone. The testing, cultivation, and infused products manufacturing facilities would be allowed by right in the light industrial and high industrial zones. The UDC amendments also add special use standards for medical marijuana facilities that would apply to all of the uses, whether they are permitted by right or otherwise. Those include that all medical marijuana facilities need to comply with operation and performance standards, such as those related to air pollution, water pollution, noise, vibration, things like that. The special use standards adopt a 1,000-foot or propose a 1,000-foot buffer to schools, daycares, and churches, as those are defined under the state rules, and set that the method of measurement for that 1,000-foot buffer is following the state measurement rules, which is by foot rather than as a straight line. Those are measured from the property line of the church, school, or daycare to the nearest point of the building for a medical marijuana facility. If it's a standalone facility, if it's within a larger shopping center or inline retail building, it's to the closest door or entrance of the tenant portion for the marijuana facility. These special use standards would prohibit the outdoor operations or storage of any kind of operations for the medical marijuana facility. It would set the hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., prohibit medical marijuana facilities from being within the same building as a residential dwelling unit, require ventilation and video surveillance systems for each of those uses, require facilities to comply with the Unified Development Code site plan review requirements depending on the scale of the facility being proposed, whether it's proposing to move into an existing tenant space or whether it's proposing to construct a brand new building or facility. There are different levels of site plan design review that it would need to go through. And the scale of that would be an administrative approval through a building permit all the way to needing to come through planning commission, depending on the size of that facility. Finally, the special use standards would require that the design for exterior building elevations of medical marijuana facilities to be compatible with, complementary to the surrounding area, for the design to incorporate high quality materials that contribute to the establishment of a positive character for the area. In addition, the UDC amendments add terms for medical marijuana to the Unified Development Code glossary to help give staff and the public and businesses a clearer idea of what we mean when these terms get incorporated into the code. The UDC amendments would also amend the Adamsbury Parkway Overlay Zoning District so that medical marijuana facilities would not require a conditional use permit, would be allowed by right, and therefore would be governed by the underlying zoning district, as I previously mentioned, of which facility would be allowed in which zoning district. Previously, and in the ordinance, we had a section 7, which discussed the proposal to allow medical marijuana facilities in the downtown development code. We would ask that that section and that section alone be pulled from the ordinance before you this evening, because staff did not have the ability or the chance to bring that before the Downtown Review Board for their review and recommendation. And before we bring that before you for a final action on that, we would like to get their review and recommendation. And so our proposal would be to do that meeting with the Downtown Review Board sometime this week or early next week, and bring forward that section code to you at the June 3rd City Council meeting. Finally, on January 7th of 2019, the City Council approved an administrative delay for the accepting or review of any applications for planning and zoning, building, business licensing, and the like, to allow staff the time to go through the process of having meetings, public meetings, meetings with City Council, to adopt and bring forward regulations before you. Should these regulations be adopted by Council this evening, the administrative delay for planning and zoning applications, in particular zoning clearance applications, would no longer be necessary, and we would ask that that be lifted, but that the administrative delay still be in effect for building permit submittals, business licensing submittals, and things of that nature. The administrative delay would really only open it up so that somebody could submit a zoning clearance or zoning verification application to city staff, so that we can review it and make sure that it complies with not only the state rules but also the locally adopted rules, and then we can turn around and hand that to the applicants that they can then turn around and submit to the state. At such time that we are able to bring back forward to you amendments related to the building code and business licensing and public safety, would be the appropriate time to lift the administrative delay for those types of things. That is all that staff has to present. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Mike? Seeing none, thank you. Let's go to the public. Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Support of? Opposition to? Opposition to? Closes public hearing. Oh, you didn't want?
Oh, well, I want to make a motion.
Oh, that's right, I withdraw that. I withdraw closing this public hearing, and we will go to Mayor Pro Tem and Council Member Ron Fowler.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I think there's a little concern about the Downtown Development Code, and so I want to read a motion. Your Honor, I move to divide the ordinance into two parts, separate out Section 7 of the ordinance, amending Section 404.240E of the Downtown Development Code. And then concurrently with that, Your Honor, I move to continue the public hearing on the amendment of Section 404.240E of the Downtown Development Code to the June 3rd, 2019 City Council meeting.
Okay, so all that is duly noted in the public hearing.
I guess could we get a legal definition of what I just asked for?
Okay, we'll go to our legal counsel.
As Mr. Mallon noted, the one section of the ordinance that's before you tonight that applies to the Downtown Development Code, because it has not gone before the Downtown Review Board, we need to postpone a final decision on that until June 3rd to give them a chance to review it and make a recommendation to the council. So what we're doing is we're splitting this ordinance by taking that section out and continuing only that portion to June 3rd. And it's called, in the Robert's Rules, it's called dividing it.
Okay, clear as mud?
Yep, appreciate Appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
Councilman Edmondson.
If I may, and correct me if this is not the right time to do it, but since we are doing some changes on this, I'd like to make some recommendations to change to the ordinance on this.
Vote on his motion first.
We're going to vote it in the public hearing? Okay, so yours was the motion. Do we have a second on his motion?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on that?
Your Honor, help me with this. If the Downtown Review Board has a different recommendation, as I understand it, this is based upon distance, et cetera, and definition. What if their recommendation is different, more lenient, or more stringent than ours? How do we override that, or can we override it?
They're only a recommending body. They're not. We are the final decision makers.
So this is a matter of procedure as
procedure to allow them to allow input from them.
Okay.
And if I could, the only change, the only amendment that would be made to that section is to add medical marijuana dispensary to permitted uses. This doesn't include the buffer or anything like that, only to add that.
In the downtown district.
In the downtown district, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor on that? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now we'll go to you, council member.
If you may, and I know staff had distributed some maps showing 1,500 feet. I had requested a 300 feet map. This is related to that, and what I would like to do, and I had some discussion with staff, is make changes on section 1, which deals with the use table, and I would like to add just only for medical marijuana testing facilities.
Let's close the public hearing and then you do that.
You want to do that then?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Anything else before I close this public hearing for the second time, since it was reopened? Okay, we'll close this public hearing. Now we'll go to council member. Well, we got to get the ordinance going, and then you can make the amendments.
Okay.
Offer an amendment. I didn't make it. Okay. So next we need to introduce.
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
Okay. We're going to get there eventually.
First reading of Bill Number 4668, an ordinance amending various sections and subsections of Title IV, Chapters 401 through 411, Unified Development Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Blue Springs to adopt regulations for the zoning, land use, and development standards related to medical marijuana uses and facilities.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading with the amendment that we mentioned earlier about Section 7, and then proceed with the second.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a second.
Second.
Now, discussion.
If I may. So basically this relates to the medical marijuana testing facilities. And if you've looked at that map, what I am suggesting to make a motion to would be to add regional commercial, make it permitted in the regional commercial area, which basically puts it along the I-70 corridor, that it would be there, or light industry. If there is an opportunity for us to maybe host or have a testing facility, that's where it's going to be, along the I-70 corridor. Staff, in a brief discussion I had with them, found no problem with doing that. The other part of it, and that would be Section 1, 405.0301, the table. So it would be changed to permitted. And then in relation to that, under Section, in Section 4, 405.05A 36, and it relates to B, which is the buffering. I would like to change the buffering from 1,000 feet down to 300 feet. Which would allow us to have more access along that corridor on the outer roads, basically Jefferson, Mock, and South Outer Road. My logic in this is, and be honest, we've been approached by some landowners down there that would like to be able to include their facilities and use that. A testing facility is going to be more like a medical lab, something of that nature. They're usually probably going to be pretty inconspicuous in what they do. They're not going to have a lot of signs saying, come here, Walgreens type. It's probably going to be pretty innocuous in what it does. So to better make it to where we might be in an ability to host one of those or have that here in Blue Springs on this east side of Missouri. There's only 2 facilities anyway, so chances are maybe not, but to at least improve our chances, this is suggestions I would like to make these amendments to.
Okay, we will take those individually, separately. So we would take your first one as a motion.
And that motion is to add in regional commerce only for medical marijuana testing facilities, along with light industry and heavy industry.
Okay. We got that, staff?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
So
So we're adding regional commerce for medical marijuana testing facilities?
Testing facility, adding in for permitted use under regional commerce. And if you're looking at the exhibit that was on,
Permitted use, I'm sorry, permitted use
found
under
it?
Regional commercial.
regional commercial.
Councilmember, did you also include light industrial and industrial as well?
Yes, that's
already-
existing
It's
as
already
is,
in.
I just
Okay.
want to add
You're-
in,
You're adding in regional commercial
yes,
to the table, to the use
Yes.
table. Yeah,
which would be a permitted use.
right.
Okay, staff, you got all that?
Got it.
Okay. Council members, do you get all that? Okay.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
That was his motion. Is there a
I'll
second? Okay, you got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or clarity on this? If not, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All same sign. Motion carries. Now you want to go with the second.
Okay, a motion then to change section 4, section 405.05A, it's under B on buffering, and reduce the buffering down to 300 feet.
What was the section number on that?
Pardon?
Section number.
The
what's
section number?
Should be section 405.0, section 4, section 405.05A, 36, which deals with the buffering, and 36 it deals mainly with just medical testing, that section there, reducing the buffering down to 300 feet
From 1,000 feet.
from 1,000.
Okay, staff, you got all that?
We got it.
Okay. Councilmember
I need
Colbeck.
clarification then. So are we saying that we are decreasing the buffer from 1,000 to 300 on everything?
No, just only on the section that deals with number 36, which is dealing with the testing facilities alone. Everything else would stay as before, 1,000 feet. This only relates to the testing facility.
That answer your question?
It answers my question, but do we have a map that we can look at that?
Yeah. We have all kinds of maps.
I've got circles on maps.
And understand this also is governed by the fact of the regional commercial area, so you're basically dealing with the I-70 corridor, and then there's a few pockets along 40 Highway. Very few pockets along 40 Highway.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I tried to find the most recent numbers that were touted about by Missouri. I believe that number is closer to 10.
10 now?
That they predict. It might be even greater than that. I know we're talking about distance only, but I totally agree with you that a testing facility is a lab.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
For some reason, the 300-foot buffer map is not in here, but I do have the 500 and 1,000-foot buffer maps, which is here.
Well, I know I have it, I just didn't want to have to look it up.
A lot of maps.
Yes.
But this map does show the regional commercial zoning districts.
Mm-hmm.
And the 500-foot buffer would be the purple line around the different facilities, and so...
That's the 500?
That would be the 500.
Okay. All right,
So
thank
300
you.
be smaller than that.
Yes.
Right.
Does that satisfy you?
Yeah, as long as we're only talking about the lab portion, I just don't want to see the rest of it changed.
This only deals with the lab portion.
Because when I look at the 1,000, because the way it's defined in walking distance, it could be right across the street, and you'd still have to go to the corner across the street and come back down again. So it's a curious way to define it with the walking. I want to make sure that everything else is the 1,000.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so we have a motion and we had a second. No further discussion.
Was there a second on it?
Was there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do now. We got a second now. Any further
Just clarify.
discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries.
Thank you for your patience.
So you're on first reading with 2 amendments.
Yeah, first reading, 2 amendments on it. And we had a second on it, so all in favor, aye on that as amended.
Did we have a motion?
Then we have a motion to, before we actually got
Yeah.
into it,
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've had a motion, you've had 2 amendments, you're still on the first reading
Right.
with, as amended.
As amended. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries. We'll move on.
Second reading of Bill Number 4668 as amended, an ordinance amending various sections and subsections of Title IV, Chapters 401 through 411 Unified Development Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Blue Springs to adopt regulations for zoning, land use, and development standards related to medical marijuana uses and facilities.
Move the bill as amended be approved on a second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance
Is
number.
there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call. Discussion.
Your Honor,
Councilmember.
I think you mentioned testing and lab, and sometimes people can still get the wrong interpretation of that. We have been a little bit educated on what that was, and it's my understanding that these testing labs we're talking about could employ 50 to 100 professional type jobs and
Yes.
people working in chemical laboratories and doing some very high-tech equipment into the town, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just want to make sure we understood. That's why we work to allow that in our town.
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Levesey?
Aye.
Fowler?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Edmondson?
Aye.
Culpepper?
Aye.
Kaler?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4826.
Next introduction, reading Bill 4669.
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill Number 4669, an ordinance amending Title V, Building and Construction of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, adding Chapter 520, Erosion and Sediment Control, Sections 520.010, 520.020, 520.030, 520.040, and 520.050.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
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 Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Both same sign.
Mike Mellon. Okay. Second reading of Bill Number 4669, an ordinance amending Title V, Building and Construction of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, adding Chapter 520, Erosion and Sediment Control, Sections 520.1010, 520.020, 520.030, 520.040, and 520.050.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and sign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
No, do that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Fowler,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Edmondson,
Aye.
Culpepper,
Aye.
Kaler,
Aye.
Levesey,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4827.
Mr. Johnson.
Your Honor and Council, I just want to, Mike was all prepared to make all kinds of good comments about this ordinance tonight, but we've worn him out on other public hearings. And so I just want to let you know, we've been working on this particular ordinance for probably a better part of 2 years. We have this code requirement in our code for properties that are bigger than 1 acre, and it regards silt runoff and control for development. Now this is for anything less than 1 acre, and in light of all the rain that we have been receiving and will be receiving, it's very timely. So appreciate your consideration and vote on that tonight. And thank you, Mike, for all your great comments.
All right, we'll move on to the last bill of the night, 4670. Who would like to introduce?
I will introduce it, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill Number 4670, an ordinance approving the final plat for Extra Space Highway 7.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Same sign?
Second reading of Bill Number 4670, an ordinance approving the final plat for Extra Space Highway 7.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilmembers Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Culpepper.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Levesey.
Aye.
Fowler.
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4828.
That takes us to mayoral announcements. I want to thank Boy Scout Troop 1306 for sitting through this meeting tonight. You're real troopers to be able to do that. I want to thank Judge Taramino and her husband, Dr. Mark Taramino, for sitting through all this. You didn't get up and leave. And everyone else that stuck with us tonight. A week from today is Memorial Day. It's a holiday that we have cookouts and rainouts and all kind of stuff. But really the purpose for Memorial Day is to remember those that have paid the ultimate price and given of their lives. I served on a national moment of remembrance, I think the very first one with Michael Reagan back in the early 2000s. Congress passed this law and very few people follow it. But the National Moment of Remembrance encourages all Americans to pause wherever they are at 3:00 p.m. local time on Memorial Day for just 1 minute in silence to remember and honor those who have died in service to this country. Now, a lot of people probably don't know that, but if you would, 3:00 on Memorial Day, just pause for 1 minute in tribute to those that gave their life for the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. Okay, that would take us to Thoughts to Ponder. And tonight's Thoughts to Ponder comes from Albert Einstein. And I quote, "Whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters." End quote. I don't have any visitors appearance forms, so that being said, I accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Well, do you want to have some discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.